Dude, I love driving. Unless it's like through fucking tornadoes and shit, but the weather's supposed to be pretty decent on the drive there next Friday.
Hell yeah, you and I.
This Friday, I should say.
That'd be a good drive, man. You're going to love it.
Jeremy's going to be driving while listening to Rabbit Troop Sucks.
That's right. Hopefully, I don't crash.
But then when the police hear what you're listening to, they too will listen to it and be like, Rabbit Troop Sucks.
Oh. You might be able to. I mean, the last time we were there was a shit ton of little like sea turtle nests that they had all like gated around them.
Did you bring some home?
Yeah. No, that's you get mucho fine if you mess with any of those sea turtle nests.
Not if you pull a little Cloak and Dagger. Welcome back to Rabbit Troop Sucks. And today, spoiler, we're going to be looking at 1984's Cloak and Dagger. 40 years ago, Cloak and Dagger came out. And we are Rabbit Troop Sucks, and we are a podcast about obscure, forgotten about, and often overlooked films. And as always, I am Paul. Next to me is Mike.
Oh, hi.
There's Lamar.
Hello.
And Jeremy.
Howdy.
And Collin.
Hey.
And Collin, we're on a special Father's Day episode of Rabbit Troop Sucks with fatherly themes from Cloak and Dagger. Jeremy, have you seen this movie? I can't remember.
No.
Okay.
I have never seen this movie in my life.
Wow. Okay.
But I watched it today. Yeah.
Jeremy's going to have a very different view of this film. So I don't remember if I said this on air. I know I said this to you guys recently, but growing up, my family briefly had HBO, and this was definitely one of the movies that was on repeat. It was Star Wars, Poltergeist, Cloak and Dagger, and maybe a couple other films. I have seen this movie, especially when I was younger, at least a couple of dozen times. I mean, clearly that was when I was super, super young. And then I've seen this movie a couple times, or I should say more than that, a few times throughout my life since, especially as an adult. But yeah, I grew up basically watching this film. Mike, I know Mike and I absolutely have watched this film beforehand. Mike, did you see this movie as a kid at all?
Yeah, I want to say I did. The first time you and I watched it, there was some recall from the movie, but I mean, I didn't really remember it.
It doesn't surprise me. Mike and I always seem to like our Venn diagram of watching things always comes down to like the weirdo spy movies. Get Smart, or shows too, like Get Smart, Inspector Gadget, this, and so on. And then I know this is Colin's first time watching this film, and Lamar, you said you have seen this.
Yeah, I was discussing this with you guys before, and I've seen it once as a kid. I believe I was 9-10 years old, a long time ago. I'm telling my age right there. But seeing it now brought back a lot of memories. It's been well over 30 years, and I remember a lot of the movie. And I told you guys when I watched it back in the day, I don't remember the ending. So it was kind of a nice surprise seeing it so many years later.
Awesome.
Yeah, the only familiarity I had was I think the kid is the same guy that played in E.T., isn't he?
He definitely is. Henry Thomas, E.T.
Based on the Wikipedia page, it looked like when it was originally released, it was a double feature with The Last Starfighter.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
and
cool.
And I've seen that movie a lot. So
we should absolutely do The Last Starfighter at some point in time. Get that on the list.
Yes.
Jeremy, you're totally right. Davey Osborne is played by Henry Thomas, most notably from E.T. in 1982. He's also an adult actor. I mean, he was in Legends of the Fall in 94. He most recently was in Pet Sematary Bloodlines from 2023. He was in The Gangs of New York. And Lamar, one of our side favorites, which I'm sure is going to make an appearance sometime, Suicide Kings from 1997. Yes. I saw Suicide Kings as a double feature, weirdly enough. So we get the director is Richard Franklin, passed away in 2007. He did Psycho 2. He did this movie called Link. Jeremy, I remember us watching this series of films. The director did FX2. I just remember, I was like, and I remember Jeremy once was like, I rented this movie, it's called FX, and like, we weren't even watching this together. I think we were renting it separately, but as noted, Jeremy and I were watching movies as kids. The
Yeah.
writer Tom Holland, very notably from he wrote Fright Night and Child's Play, also Psycho 2. And this is based on a story from Cornell Woolrich, and who she wrote Rear Window from 54. I was like, oh my
Weird.
God. So yeah, you get a lot of people. Some things I read about the director, which is kind of interesting. This guy did all adult films, not like pornography, but like rated R, like for adult films.
My kind of guy right there.
And he said he wanted to do like a spy movie for kids, and this is the only family friendly movie he did. Also notably, this movie got apparently some pushback that this movie is PG. So this movie came out in 84. I know we discussed this on air before. 84 is the year where PG-13 came out. Red Dawn was the first one released with this. Temple of Doom and Gremlins pushed forward with this. Spielberg was on point with this. If you saw Mike and I give our speech at MiniCon in Aurora, Colorado last year, this was our topic of debate, Indiana Jones and what it did and how it pushed some boundaries, and that was one of them, that the PG-13 rating was part of this. I totally understand. As we go through this movie, PG, that is super questionable. And I have a couple side notes, and when I take notes on movies, I don't normally kind of write my emotional status. But looking back, I was like 5 years old watching this movie repeatedly and living through the eyes of Davey, who is Henry Thomas. And there are a couple scenes here I'm like, holy shit. Like maybe I shouldn't have watched this when I was 5. Like maybe there should have been discussions. Because there's some death in here that I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, there's blood.
Yeah.
There's some blood.
Yeah, PG is light. I feel most of the movies
They
PG.
blow up a fucking airliner.
Well, it was a different time.
Yeah, then that starts
Don't worry
making
about
me
it.
that starts making me think not PG. But yeah, sure.
I don't know. I think PG-13 for this movie would have been. You never really want to have the rating. You don't want to have your audience be too much older than like the main character of the movie. Like this is kind of a kids movie.
Yeah.
So if you just make it like only kids who are in high school can watch it. Like I don't think I would have liked this movie.
I totally agree. So yeah, this is like a weird fringe movie for that reason. It definitely fits our MO. I don't want any changes in this movie. Could this movie be made now with what happens in it as a PG movie? Hell no. There's no effing way. But it's one of the reasons I look back at like 80s PG films. I'm like, I loved kids' movies in the 80s. It's because of this. There's like swearing, there's death. I probably shouldn't have been watching this. I'm only psychologically unpacking the ramifications it had on me now. And before we get too far ahead of any of this, like I know the psychological impact and all this, one thing I want to note, we plan our movies ahead of time, like all of us listeners. All 5 of us have text messages we're going through. What movie do you want to do? We had this movie listed, and it is apropos and simultaneously unfortunate because weeks ago we did lose Dabney Coleman. And what's crazy is I wanted to do 3 different Dabney Coleman movies. Not just all at once, but I've been floating them around, and I recently had to spread them out. Like in my mind, I was like, we can't just do Dabney Coleman after Dabney Coleman film, but we will later do other films that we have noted through our text messages and through our lists and stuff like this. But this was the first one that we had planned because there is a fatherly component to it. And happy Father's Day. But how unfortunate. Guys, Dabney Coleman, any recollections of like some great film? This is like one of my choices, so like you have one of them. Any films that you remember him being in? He was in his early 90s. He was 91 or 92. The guy had an amazing run.
For me, like I've mentioned this before on the podcast, that I used to watch like movies with my family. Like my grandparents lived next door to me, and we would watch movies either like Friday or Saturday night. And I remember like 9 to 5 and Tootsie were 2 movies that we had watched. Both those have Dabney Coleman in them.
Yeah, those are huge on my list. I literally wrote War Games, 9 to 5, Tootsie. I've never watched Yellowstone. He was on Yellowstone. Guys, the rest of you, any notable Dabney Coleman films are like, yeah, Dabney.
I got a quirky one because it goes to his voice acting work. I love Recess.
Yeah.
I think it's I didn't discover this until way later in life. He voices Principal Prickly, who looks just like him. I'm glad they probably just
I never
drew him
knew-
just to look just like him.
When he died, Lamar said that, and I told that to my wife, huge Recess fan, and she's like, "Oh, are you serious?" And you're right, he looks just like the character. I never put that together until you texted that. So you
I thought that was pretty cool.
it might have been
I
years ago
think
for
Dabney
you.
Coleman looks like his voice sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he has like the perfect match of voice to looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That came across in Recess. I just went. That's like one of my favorite characters in a TV show. This Principal Prickly. I don't know why.
That's
And I think
awesome.
it's Dabney Coleman's voice makes it, and his character is just perfect.
The dabs. You guys, any notable roles?
Not notable, but the Inspector Gadget movie.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
that's awesome.
That movie sucks, but I kind of like it.
Colin, any for you?
Nothing in particular. He's like in a handful of like TV shows and stuff like that where he has a ton of cameos
Totally.
that I kind of recognize him from.
I
Yeah,
think-
which is great. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I feel, for some, it's going to be like, he was in a cameo, he was in a smaller role, or he's like a major player, especially 70s, 80s. What is just a notable guy. So, yeah, super unfortunate with his passing, but, I don't know. I think it was undisclosed when I last read, like, why he died. I don't really care for any reasons. The guy was in his 90s and definitely provided, just entertainment for generations. So what a class act of that guy. We'll definitely have more films with Dabney Coleman in the future. Just a really cool guy. Yeah. Beyond that, we don't have like a ton of like super notable people. I mean, as we noted, Henry Thomas is in this, but basically everyone else has been in kind of some like small time stuff. The guy who plays Rice was in Batman Returns. He was also in Magnolia. Kim, who plays the next door neighbor and the friend of Davey, not really all too much. She was in Out of This World, Lamar, the TV show from 87
Wow.
and 91.
She was my favorite character of the movie.
She was
Oh,
also in.
mine too.
Oh, yeah.
She was also in one episode of Mr. Belvedere.
Oh.
I want
There you go.
I want our friend Chris, if he listens to this episode, to especially note that she was in one episode of Mr. Belvedere. The older couple, the McCreadys, George and Eunice, they're actually married in real life. So this was an actor couple who I think were in a couple different films together.
Are they always acting together?
I don't know. I think
that'd be
everyone.
adorable.
I think everyone was like part of Psycho 2. Like this guy was part of Psycho 2. I don't know if she was in it.
So the old woman and the old man were a real life couple.
Yeah,
like they were married, husband and wife.
I think the trivia I read was like they were married for 49 years until like his passing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I think they play off well together. So like reading that
Yeah.
trivia, I was like, I'm not really surprised about that. Yeah, he was in Turner and Hooch, and no, he was in the original Psycho. So boom.
Well,
I'm the original Psycho.
Yeah, then everyone else has like different things.
We have Louis Anderson as Taxi Driver too.
Yeah, I pointed that out, and Lamar and Mike, I think, thought I was joking. I was like, no, that's really Louis
I
Anderson.
really did thought you were
lit-
joking.
It's literally the last person I have noted, and yeah, he was a taxi driver, and then, we have some goons after some people, and we have William Forsythe, noted as Bill Forsythe. I really know William Forsythe, for whatever reason. I watched a good chunk of the reboot storyline, at least, of the Untouchables TV show, and he played Al Capone on that. He's also in Dick Tracy. He's in The Devil's Rejects. He's in Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. And as I noted, The Untouchables, which was from 93 to 94, and Raising Arizona. He's in a ton of stuff. He's almost unrecognizable in this film with those Coke bottle
Yeah.
glasses and like the hair.
Those are some thick lenses.
Yeah, I didn't look up too much. I have to assume this is like clearly one of his earlier roles. I thought it was kind of cool role. Like there's like no shame in this role. That if this is an earlier one, we always read actors regretting this, or when we did Cyborg 2, Glass Shadow, it was a clear regret of Angelina Jolie. Like, oh man, like such a bad movie. This would not be one for me. If I was in Cloak and Dagger, I was like the computer store owner.
Yeah.
I'd own that.
absolutely.
Sure.
And the amount of stuff that he did, you can just tuck it away. And I don't want to give anything away, but he's not in this movie that much, honestly.
No, but he's a fun
That's
guy.
true.
He is fun. He
He's
adds
a
to the
super
fun.
Swell dude.
I'm very curious about Collin and Jeremy's views on the opening of this film. So I didn't say anything to Collin. Like Collin's like, I didn't see it, and we just loaded it up. So The opening sequence is we see Dabney Coleman, who's playing Jack Flack, international spy for the U.S. government. Basically an unkillable, well-trained, cool, slick James Bond kind of fella, but a little more military-esque, but like a real cool...
Loves those
commando type.
pockets and zippers, man.
He loves them, yeah. This is like parachute pants version of the military. Yeah, so we see him in Russia. Some weird things are going on. You probably assume, I mean, this is an early 80s film, that like something's going bad in Russia, but we have this American Green Beret, jumping in, and he's, giving a cigarette to some Russian soldier, and then there's a bunch of fighting, and things escalate. The audience is like, what the hell's going on? Then a huge 20-sided die start rolling down the street. What did you guys think about that?
I actually kind of thought that it was like, they're just ripping this off of like the 1960s Prisoner show.
Yeah.
I was like, it's going to be one of those things.
I thought that was cool. That they were D12s, by the way.
Oh, D12s.
My wife nerd out on that. But I saw that and cool.
So that's why the 24 escapes, because it's a perfect roll then.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
maybe.
Nice.
Okay.
Jeremy, what are you thinking about D12s rolling down the street?
So one of the things I do is watch a trailer before I watch a movie
Okay.
that I've never seen before, and I watched the trailer to this, so I kind of had an idea that this was a fantasy of this particular kid, and not so much a fantasy, but more so this movie is, I think, loosely based on a arcade game at the time that was in the arcades, but then Atari was developing it at the time this film was released.
Was it called Cloak and Dagger?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Cloak and
Yeah.
Dagger machine is in Morris's shop. Like the full
Yeah,
arcade
so-
version of it is.
So I kind of knew what was happening. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't have any problems with this. This movie's just so, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it, to be honest with you.
What about when
'Cause
he
there's
used
some
his beret to shoot that girl in the tit?
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
yeah.
What about that? What
I thought
about
she
that?
shot him and it bounced off
That's
of
it.
his
He
chest.
used it to ricochet the ball.
No, he blocked it with his beret.
Oh, I thought it just bounced
Yeah,
off his chest.
His manly chest.
No,
yeah.
no. He took
Yes,
his
some
hat and
cigarette
angled
darts.
He
Oh,
flexed
okay.
his pec like The Rock in
Yeah.
Journey 2.
I thought it was like a book that he had or something. It was his
Oh no, he
beret.
used it. Yeah, he used his hat.
Yeah.
He's like,
Oh,
it was-
okay,
it
whatever.
was-
Classic
skill.
84 spy shenanigans.
Hey,
Yeah.
he paid respect after he put her down. He's like, oh, he crossed their arms over like, I killed you.
Well,
and
I
then
only
went
bring
on
that
his
up
spy
because
business.
the beret comes up later.
That's
it
true.
does.
It does come up later.
It's
Yeah.
Chekhov's beret.
And last week I meant to note.
I'm taking a beret to the beach, actually. I'm not going to wear a sun hat. I'm going to wear a beret.
Okay.
to block bullets.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I meant
Well, he's going to be in Florida, so it might.
I meant to say in our opening too. I mean, not that it had to be part of our opening, but last episode we did Hot Rod, and speaking of stunts, my wife and I watched the new version of The Fall Guy. Both of us really loved it.
All right.
that looks fun.
Nice.
It was just a fun film, start to finish. I wholeheartedly recommend, if you want to watch a fun action comedy romance, that's the movie.
All right.
Well, on a side note, this is the worst Memorial Day performance in terms of cinematic
Yeah, I've
movies
been reading that.
in 30 years, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Man.
People need to go to the theaters. Fall Guy, super fun. People should totally watch it. Probably not a movie we're going to be reviewing, but yeah, I just thought it was super cool. And I was reading similar things like terrible opening stuff like this. But back to Cloak and Dagger. This is all a dream. We're playing some games. It's like a D&D version of Cloak and Dagger, and we meet Davey and his friend Kim, who Kim is his next door neighbor.
Oh, Davey.
Oh, Davey. And they're at Morris's computer shop, and Morris is William
In the mall.
Forsythe. Yeah, in the mall. Jeremy, I had so much running commentary about you while we watched the film, and it was all the mall sequences.
Yeah, I love the mall sequences. They brought back so much nostalgia.
I was like, oh my God.
One of the points I do want to make with this movie, though, and this is crazy, maybe it's because I've lived so long as a parent in this current generation, but kids in the 80s, especially the early 80s, I felt like they could do whatever the fuck they wanted to do.
This is also noted
parents are
as
just
religious.
have fun.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
stay the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
You know? And we can't do that as parents
Oh, God,
nowadays,
no.
man.
You could, but
Most of growing
Yeah,
up,
we could, but
most of growing up in the
be
80s
shunned.
was just my mom just be back by 9. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You see, how old are these kids? And they're at the mall by themselves
Well,
in the
not-
back of a fucking gaming store with like this guy.
Right, and this random adult is sending them on additional tasks to like go downtown on the bus.
Downtown, yeah.
To like get them fucking Twinkies.
I feel Jeremy brings up a really important point. Like, this is a whole condemnation of our current society. As you both are talking about this, there's like huge disdain in your voice. Like, oh my God. But at the time, like, think about it, like, it's
Yeah, we could do
1984,
that.
filmed in 83 probably. It was like, oh, like this 20-year-old adult runs a computer shop, like, you have to watch after my kids. Like, that's kind of just mentally known. And people are like, yeah, like, kids first. Hell yeah. Now, 40
Wait.
years of crime and awfulness and everything that's been reported, our 2020 plus brains are like, leave your kid alone for a second with anyone? Like, my God. Like, they'll murder you.
Was
and
Bill
eat you.
Forsythe really supposed to be like in his 20s in this movie?
I mean, I assume.
Was he actually in his 20s?
Well, I assume he's like in his early 20s at this point in time.
He owns the shop, right? So,
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Well,
He
we
just-
should look up his age. Like, so this film came out in 84. Let's look up his age. I mean,
Is
He
Collin,
played a
are you,
legally blind
are you
game
doing that
shop
on one of
owner.
your two phones?
yeah.
well, yes, William Forsythe Morris is
Okay,
like,
he would have been like 28, 29.
okay.
All right.
Okay. So yeah, he's like, here's some walkie-talkies, like go get some catalogs for me at this, store. Yeah, I mean, because there's other points in time. I also note later too, and then Colin and I had a kind of a side talk as we're watching this, that yeah, people are very trusting, and you're like kind of going with the flow. And it, like my living through the 80s mind, as Jeremy is noting, this makes sense. But if someone watched this movie now, like, and was younger than us, they'd be like, oh my God, like, they're going to kidnap your child. Like, they're clearly killing all these kids. Like, what are you doing? Like, but then again, like, as Jeremy noted, like in the 80s, people were like, oh yeah, like a stranger looking
how
after
could you
kids.
not think that spies are going to come after your fucking kids? All right. Yeah. We've learned our lesson.
This is what the internet has done. It's let us provide you with a podcast and simultaneously get brainwashed. Everyone's after you. That's the takeaway from this film. Everyone is after you. And oddly enough, like as all this is happening, you get to see like where it's filmed and when it's at. It's like summer, Austin, Texas. Like it pops up on the screen. I'm like, oh, okay. And it is filmed
San Antonio,
that's right.
Texas.
It's filmed in, you're correct, San Antonio. It is, supposed to be the summer and these two kids playing around. They're playing these spy games. I mean, I will kind of give you some of what we are given later, some of the backstory. Davey's dad is in the military. His mom recently passed away. We'll find that out kind of soon. I think maybe this is also the flexibility we see with what Davey's allowed to do. Like his dad's at work. I mean, what is this kid's? If it's the summer, he doesn't have school. He's kind of given free reign. I'm more surprised that Kim's mom lets Kim do as many things because she seems a little more active about that. But whatever.
She has the same problem. She has to go to work. and
Sure. Yeah.
She has on her own too. So
Kids
They
going to the
should
mall.
join forces.
Oh man, yeah. So they hang out at the mall. They hang out at the computer store. They play all these games. Yeah, when I saw the carpets on the mall, I was like, oh my God. I was like specifically this time frame for Jeremy. Like I said, this is Jeremy's nirvana. This is your afterlife. Just spending time in an 80s mall, free reign. That would just be Jeremy's afterlife.
The
Unlimited,
Mall of Heaven.
yeah, unlimited tokens at the arcade. All the money he needs for, pretzels and milkshakes and all the things he could find on the carpet.
Was your Mall of Heaven like 90% wood grain as well? Like the one in this movie? Seemed like
Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of did dig.
told you.
I liked
vibe
it.
of this mall,
Yeah,
man. I did.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah. I like the wood accents and like the foliage and everything.
Yeah,
Nice.
Jeremy, I was specifically noting to these guys, I was like, no, it's this time frame, the carpet, the wood, all of it. I was like, he's gonna fall in love. Yeah, my grandmother used to take us to a place in Illinois, and it was all red plush carpets. She'd buy us a donut, and then we'd go to an arcade. It was dope. My brother told me that mall was later overrun with gang activity and eventually shut down.
Oh, wow.
We should start a sister podcast called just where we do stuff about malls.
Mall hijinks.
They all end the same way because that's how most malls are going. Just gang activity moves in and they shut down.
Yeah, when you lose the Orange Julius, it's going too far.
Yeah, it's all downhill from
Oh,
there.
Julius, no. Yeah, so these kids go to the catalog store, or like the
It's
the
like
headquarters.
like an electronics office building. Like, hey, we make like I think electronic equipment here. This is our corporate office, and yeah, they it's in the heart of downtown San Antonio. The kids are by themselves.
Yeah.
And they're gonna infiltrate this office building.
Infiltrate is right, because the kid has a fucking gun out.
Yeah, Davey pulls out a toy gun.
Yeah.
And so some of you listening, I mean, I know this definitely depends on how old are you and like what kind of toys did you grow up with. So when we say he pulls out a gun, he pulls out a black Beretta-esque gun that looks like a straight up gun.
Yeah,
it is
there's
a,
no, like,
There's no orange tip on this
Yeah.
bad
yeah,
boy.
yeah,
And it's filled with fake blood.
there is no orange tip. It looks like straight up like a real gun. So as kids, like growing up, I think it was like
Oh my god.
it was some kind of tech. I can't remember the name of the squirt gun company. It was called like something tech, and they were the first ones because I remember I had a pistol and it was like bam, 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 and it like made a noise, and we had two, and one of them was all black, and then one of them was like gray with an orange tip, because that was the first time like squirt guns were mandated to have them. So if someone's listening now, they're like, what, do you have some like Nerf like neon orange blue gun? No, like this straight up looked like a gun, and it looked like a 10, 12-year-old kid maximum is now walking around with a handgun.
This could have been a way shorter movie.
Yeah, like,
Really
yeah,
good.
like all reasons like this movie could not be made in the same way, like because
Yeah,
you
this
see
was back when America only had like I think 86 million guns instead of 144 million guns.
because you see even one of the security guards at the ground level like seeing these kids, and it's like these kids are just fooling around and they're just playing little games and stuff like this. Yeah, this would be like if this happened today, there would be like alerts on your phone and like gates shut down and like SWAT teams.
Oh yeah, and the security
It was
guard
Entertech.
at this
Yes,
office building
Entertech.
sees it immediately, and he's just like, "Oh, this is cute.
Yeah.
Look at these little rascals."
Yeah, that guy's great. He's like, hey, do you need help finding something, buddy?
They do.
They do need help, yeah.
They're like, yeah, we just need these catalogs. He's like, oh, video games. Video games? Yeah, he's like, go to the 7th
Take
floor.
your gun on up to the 7th floor.
Yeah, so they're about to get in the elevator, and then we get to meet two of the baddies, Alvarez and Hammercheck. I can't remember this guy's name. I got his name. Hammerstein.
Haverman.
Goon 1 and Goon 2.
Haverman. Yeah, Haverman and Alvarez.
It's all about Alvarez, really.
It is. And Rice. Rice has a big part.
Haverman's my favorite, though.
Rice seems to be in charge.
Seems to be.
Davey looks up and sees that these guys have shoulder holsters underneath their jackets, and he's like, oh my god, these are bad guys. My first thought would be they're probably working with the police or the FBI or something. I wouldn't just immediately be like, bad guy.
Right.
But I mean, that's the game he's playing, so he's like, we need to go up the stairwell.
Yeah, that's where his head's at.
And they split up. He's like, Kim, I want you to go this way. And she's like, I'm going to take the next elevator. And she does that and goes up. And he takes the stairwell. I really like the filming scenes here. All the camera angles, like that's bounced off the reflections.
That took me a while to figure out what was going on,
Yeah,
if I'm honest.
It sets some things up nicely. So Davey's going up some steps, and he looks out the window, and there is a set of windows across the street, but they were reflecting his current building and the floors above him. So he's able to see like 2 stories above him from the reflection. And what's kind of cool is Dabney Coleman's character shows up kind of for the first time in this reality. Dabney Coleman plays Jack Flack. It is an imaginary character for Davey. He's, as we noted in the beginning, he's like this cool commando, green beret, knows all these things. But he is the imaginary character of Davey, who he interacts with through the rest of the movie. He is also Dabney Coleman, his father. He is the same image, which is a psychological component and threaded all throughout this movie. Why I said maybe we should do this for Father's Day. And then Collin wiped away a tear and gave me the thumbs up.
Very nice.
And yeah, so Davey starts walking up and he sees a kerfluffle amongst these people upstairs. It's the two guys he saw before, two dudes in lab coats. I kind of like the angle because one guy is in a lab coat and he's beaten down. And you could see the other guy with the lab coat is kind of lording above him. He's like, yes, you will be beaten down. But you can't really hear anything. And then the other guy who was beaten down just tries to make a mad bolt for it. And then
the three bad guys are like having a conversation and just completely ignore the man that they just beat down, and he gets up and runs out the door.
Yeah,
and they're like, can't believe he did that. All right, well, I guess we got to chase.
Where do you think he's going?
Get some bubblegum. Get an Enertech water gun. Yeah, he runs out the door. He's super shot, and he sees Davey. I mean, I don't know what else to say about the guy who shot. What else can you do? His last moment, he's like, here's a cartridge, like, it's got top secret. Like, he says, like, tell someone, go to the FBI, don't let him get it, and dies. Like, what
well, he says a number, too.
Yeah, that is somewhat helpful, I guess. Davey doesn't really pick up too much.
It wasn't that helpful.
But I don't really blame, like, this lab-coated dude. What are you supposed to do? Like, your last moment on Earth is you just saw this kid, you know what's on here. You just died for whatever you believe in.
Yeah.
Like, good luck.
So, I mean, the next logical step is to endanger a child.
But of course. So, Davey runs downstairs. Oh, no. Then these guys come out the door. They see Davey. Davey was throwing a baseball or softball around the whole time. He's pretending it to be like a spy game bomb, and he throws it and he forgets about it. And that comes up here in a second. So he bolts out and they see this kid like run. They're like, oh shit, like the baddies that is. And they take this guy who's been shot and they throw him super down a stairwell.
Which was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's super dead. And Davey's like, oh my God, and runs out and tells the security guard on the ground floor. That guy immediately springs to action, and
the kid with the gun needs something.
Yeah, what? I know.
So they go to this area. The body's gone. They think Davey's crazy. The cops are called. They deliver Kim and Davey home. The parents are not pleased about this one bit.
No.
Davey's dad is especially upset.
It's pretty crazy, right? Like, they got down the stairs and cleared out a body in the same time it took him to exit the door and scream.
And one of the baddies note this, saw the baseball softball, and it does have Davey's full name on it. It's like Davey Osborne. That's it. No address, but it does.
No, it has his first name, his middle initial, and then his last name.
Okay.
Who writes a middle initial on their fucking softball?
What was his middle initial?
A G.
Nice.
David G. Osborne.
Well, if it's G, then you use it.
Like what?
Davey G. Yeah.
They drag him home.
Yeah.
DBG.
Yeah, the cops bring him home. They're not really pleased with this.
No, Dabney Coleman is also not really pleased with this. Apparently, this is kind of on brand for his son, just living in these weird like spy fantasies, and he's getting kind of sick of it.
Yeah, to psychologically break Davey down, it seems that mom died, and he liked before this maybe like these spy things with his lead star Jack Flack, who he I think somewhat invented.
Yeah, because he looks nothing like the character from the game.
Yeah, so he has like his own version of this. So it's even said when the cop drops him off, like, we're not going to press any charges. Dabney Coleman, who plays Hal Osborne, is like, because the cop's like, we're not going to do anything, but like, we all kind of feel like this kid might need a little help.
Yeah,
And
could
he's
you
like,
get this kid's shit together?
yeah, and like Dabney Coleman's like, yeah, so like his mom recently died. This is, we're going through a lot. And then even the cop's like, oh man, I'm really sorry about that. So that kind of like really highlights where he's at. Dad's clearly at work all the time. So, Davey invented this fictional imaginary friend who looks exactly like his dad. Like, he is clearly screaming out like, Dad, I need you. I need attention. I need help. When I watched this movie, did I fully understand that as a kid? No, but like as an adult, it is abundantly clear. I mean, I understood as a kid why his dad, like Dabney Coleman, played both characters. I understood the blend of like, I need my dad, I need a hero. But like how psychologically like damaged this kid is, not permanently, just at the moment, that I did not fully understand until being an adult.
Do you think he had this?
Well, I mean, he
imaginary
spends a
friend
lot
previously?
of time by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you say, Mike?
Do you think he had this imaginary friend previous to his mother passing?
Yeah, that's
I don't know. That's never made clear.
Yeah, that's the real good question. Like, and if he did, was it just like a little bit, and now like fully, this has now become almost a problem because mom died? Or,
I mean, the way I kind of read it was he mentioned like when they're arguing about what happened, and Davey's trying to convince him that what is going on is real. He said, Mom would have believed me, and he's like, you're probably right. So the way I kind of took it is, maybe this imaginary character did exist before, and maybe it even did look like his father, but maybe it was more of like my father's cool and like works for the Air Force, but his mother kind of tempered that fantasy because she kind of bought into it a little bit.
Sure.
But like without her, now it's kind of transferred into like, I need a father, and this is off the rails.
Or, I totally agree. There's like so many options here because he also has like the pewter figure, like the totem of Jack Flack that he brings with him. So part of it could be, if when Mom was alive, he's playing with it and he's like, hey, it's like an action figure. Like, hey, it's, Jack Flack, and like we're going on adventures. And now he's straight up having like full on conversations. Jack Flack is literally guiding him throughout this movie. He is manifesting himself like to Davey. I would have to imagine it's just grown more extreme to some extent. And as Jeremy noted, he's always alone. I do like Collin even noted like that Davey's kind of like a little more aggressive with Kim, like kind of jerky. And I was like, and I remember this. I was like, I think the mom has a conversation about this with Kim later, and she does. She's like, why do you hang around with him? She's like, all the other boys in the neighborhood are boring. I love Kim. Kim's great.
She is.
He's definitely not boring.
Yeah, no. But he does leave off on the scene, and it might have been like, Mom would have believed me, and he's like, I hate you, to Dabney Coleman. He's like, you don't care about me, and you never believe me, and that's what he directly says. Dabney Coleman. This is like an interesting character because like Dabney Coleman is just kind of like broken on this end because like he doesn't reprimand him. He's like, I'm going to take away some of your games, but it's not like you're grounded. Like he's definitely trying to sympathize. I'm really trying to go into the psyche of this because this is 1984. Like no one seems to be going to like psychologist as much.
Was there no like FMLA he could have taken when his wife passed?
He did say that he was going to take him to a doctor, though. Right, I kind of imagined it was a kind of a therapist or psychiatrist.
But they're not.
Because it's the 80s.
Right. Like, so, like, I don't, like, a lot of mixed emotions. But, you could just tell, like, Dabney Coleman, like, honestly just doesn't know what to do in this situation. I don't know what I would do in this situation. Like, I would take my...
Oh, it's got to be a tough situation.
Yeah. Man. Like, I would take my child
like, working
somewhere.
For the Air Force.
Yeah.
You're gone all day. Your son's by himself.
I also thought, like, you're not really living, like, a nice life. Like, seems to be in, like, a small condo and not, like, a really nice car. What was the car he was driving?
It was a Mustang.
But it seemed, like, really old and not cared for.
Well, I mean, Mustangs in the 80s totally sucked. But that was an 80s Mustang. It looked kind of ratty, but...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I was like, wouldn't this guy make a little more money? He seemed to be, like...
A master sergeant? I would assume so.
Yeah. I don't know. He's probably sad about that too.
Downsized in the wrong way, I guess.
Maybe he's got a secret second family. That's why
maybe
Davey sees him in two ways.
Yeah, I don't know.
That became real
probably
dark.
plays into his brokenness. I mean, there's a lot going on there. His family's on the down.
Well, he does tell him he hates him, but they hug it out, and they're gonna
hug it up, bro.
He wants to sleep in Dad's bed tonight.
Yeah.
That sounded weird.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's what happened.
It felt literally when we were watching the movie.
Yeah, it did a little bit. But they hug it out and they're fine, I guess.
Yeah. For the next morning.
Next morning, Davey's a radio walkie-talking Kim. I want to go back to the mall.
What is it, Davey?
And by the way, Kim thinks that she likes Davey, but she's also like, this guy's fucking nuts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She thinks he's a big fucking weirdo, but she wants the entertainment.
Small price to pay.
Yeah.
We Lamar and I have a side conversation. So Kim is eating breakfast in the morning, and she's on the walkie-talkie. Like, Davey, I'll be there. I'll go to the mall, but she has an extra huge carton.
Oh, the juice box
of Minute Maid orange juice. So it was like double the size. I don't know what was going on
It
there.
looked like a half-gallon juice box.
Yeah, but flat.
I don't know how to describe it. Like, wow, it's a fair amount of juice.
Yeah.
Makes me think shrinkflation. Was juice boxes always this big, or
I don't even remember drinking Minute Maid.
They probably
juice
were
boxes
back in
to
the
begin
80s,
with.
man.
Yeah,
it's
probably.
outrageous?
Yeah, so side note, this has not been brought to you by Minute Maid, but if you've got a double Minute Maid, send it to us.
Yeah.
Minute Maid.
Big juice box.
Think about how big the pudding rings were back in the 80s.
Oh, fuck. I can't even imagine.
Double the size.
Like fucking around Saturn.
Also, we should note, sorry, I know it was the morning, but the night before,
yes.
they also get a phone ring, and this guy's like, "Are you Davey Osborne?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, it's good." He's like, "Dad, the spies are on the phone, and they hang up." So, just note that, because now Davey, after telling Kim like we're gonna go to the mall, we get two guys that just appear. And then this movie becomes super duper real for me. These guys bust through the freaking the house. Like, I don't want to say just like a door and a window. Like, Haberman walks through a wall.
Yeah, he fucking Kool-Aid mans through this goddamn house.
Yeah, and I specifically remember this scene as a kid because this is terrifying. Again, I'm like 5. I'm not like old as Davey. I just imagine like ding dong, you see some shadows and you're like, the bad guys are here, but like you're safe enough. You could hide in the house. That's even watching it as an adult, I'm like, you could hide in the house. Like, where could you hide? Until a guy walks through a wall.
It was very
Spookies.
hyper-aggressive.
Spookies
how
all
they
over
gave it.
again.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, you hear the knocks on the door, and Davey does like the only thing that he, like, as like a spy kid, is like not answer the door right away, because he's a terrible spy this entire fucking movie.
That's true.
But he walks over and tries to get a peek at him, and then you see this just punch right through the glass of the window, and then it cuts to the Haverman as he goes to the door. You think he's just gonna punch through the glass to grab the handle and open it up, but you're right. He just double punches and kicks at the same time, and glass just shatters
the ultimate
everywhere.
punch, yeah.
Going back to a movie we did for a Halloween episode, Spookies, there is a man who jumps through a door. And when we recorded that, I do want to note again that, for the love of God, that scene is worth the omission alone. A man who is just cornered and has no other options is like, I'm going to take a 1 in a bajillion chance. I'm going to jump through a door, a wooden door, and
A man who may or may not have been in that movie up till this point, and may or may not have ever been in that movie again.
And I think was their father, but was dating some of them. Very
knows?
strange. Very strange. But back to you on Cloak and Dagger. Yeah, there are people in the house, so they get the hell out. Davey's able to go through the rooftop, somehow window, and just bolt. They go to Morris's, and Morris takes a look at this tape. Morris is like, kind of brushing him off, but he's like, no, you got to look at it. Morris opens the back of, everyone calls it tapes.
They're
just
That's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, they're just cartridges.
Like, tapes are what my parents called Nintendo games in the 80s.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. You want a new tape for your birthday?
just like that.
Yeah.
There were some games on tape
Davey.
back then.
Yeah.
So maybe they remember those days.
Like, Mom, it's your cart.
Maybe they just want to buy you Scotch tape.
Yeah, maybe.
Just want to tape yourself up, tape your friends.
It's so cheap.
Tape party.
You love the tape
Davey.
games.
Davey gets stuck together.
Go fucking mail yourself to Abu Dhabi like normal. Get out of my goddamn house.
Yeah.
What?
Well, Morris looks at the cartridge, or the tape.
The tape.
As Mike would get for his birthday. His new Super Mario tape. So Mike would get that. So, yeah, so Morris opens this up. He's like, oh my God, the soldering. The soldering.
This is real pro stuff. It's like a Nintendo game with a couple wires.
There's like a, yeah, there's
Yeah,
like
it looks like a fucking improvised explosive device.
there's a white twisty wire and like a silver chip. He's like, that shouldn't be there.
It's a mod chip.
Yeah.
He modded up his Atari 5200 cartridge here.
Yeah.
And he says they'll take a look at it. And then Davey does remember that number. Mike noted. He's like it was like 1,329,000. He's like, yeah.
29 and something.
Yeah, I'll look into that. Later, it turns out, like, when you unlock that score, then you unlock the blueprints to this. Also, P.S., I'm going to jump forward a little bit. Morris starts playing the game. Like, other things are about to happen kind of simultaneously. Morris does look into the Cloak and Dagger game, does consider the number. I just want to note, like, imagine this. Imagine we're a spy company. So, Lamar, I'm going to task you on getting this cartridge. Mike, you're going to deliver it to me. Collin and I and Jeremy are going to, like, put it together, etc. Okay, cool. You guys get this cartridge. We're a bunch of baddies, and we're going to, again, jumping forward, it's going to highlight that a stealth bomber, the blueprints, the schematics, all things stealth bomber related are on this cartridge. So imagine we get this. So you're telling me I have to play this effing video game for the next hour and a half to unlock the schematics of it? Like, every time?
That's exactly what I'm telling you, Paul.
So what I'm also going to notice, Morris goes in and I'm like, I'm immediately watching him play this game. This dude's like gunslinging badass in the game, like pew, 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 shooting everyone. This doesn't seem like a game that you would be able to be a novice and just jump in. Like, this game takes some, like, skill.
That the cabinet was right there in his little office.
Right, but when we find out who the bad people are, they have to unlock it by doing this.
Right, they get home and load up the Atari. Like, okay.
Well,
maybe they had like up, down, left, right.
No,
right.
they got a video game nerd on hand
you don't
to do that.
Bring your video game nerd, out into the field. You leave him at home playing video games.
Yeah,
so he's there waiting.
So what you're telling me is, by the end of this movie, we still have an undisclosed person who is the video game nerd.
Yeah, somewhere in a basement.
Which opens up a sequel.
Yeah. Nice.
And I gotta say,
love my favorite, and even though I don't think we are kind of there, but the schematics of this fucking airplane are just top notch technology.
Oh yeah,
man.
so beautiful wireframe.
It really needed to be behind this sophisticated firewall that they've set up for this whole thing. There's a lot of info in that schematic.
We could say we're there because there are simultaneous things happening. So Morris is looking at these really dated schematics. I do want to note, I too was joking. I was like, who even cares if someone found this? It's literally a plane, and it was like wing, back panel.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly. It was like intake nozzle.
I was like who great. Like, you cracked it. You're really going to take down a government now. But it did seem like they kind of panned away, and then all these other Word files started popping up. So I was like, what's in the Word files?
Yeah, there might have been more. Yeah, they show like what's his name?
Morris.
Yeah, they show his face, and his glasses are glowing orange as he's looking at it.
He's like, yes.
Like some comic book nerd would just know what he uncovered.
Yeah, exactly.
I finally have it.
Like the scene in Pulp Fiction, and he opens up the briefcase.
Yeah.
And you never know. It's just like, oh my god, yes.
I later read the speculation it was his soul.
Yeah.
But then I think that's debated, and Tarantino was like, nah, it's not. But then someone's like, nah, I think he's lying about
that. He would.
Yeah, he totally would.
The cycle continues.
Well, we're gonna jump to it because we're there. One of the baddies, Rice, does pop in. You see him in the background, and a gunshot's there, and that's really the last time you see Morris for now. Simultaneously,
so Davey is now, like, they have kidnapped his neighbor.
Well, he calls Kim. So before this exactly happens, he calls Kim on the walkie-talkie. He's like, Kim, come on, we gotta go to the mall. And then the guy's like, yeah, and that's Rice. He's like, yes, yes, Davey.
Let me ask you this though: does Kim's mom also like go to work during the day?
Yeah, no one cares about these fucking kids.
Collin speculated that she probably went to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kim was at home by herself with the walkie-talkie. She got fucking kidnapped. Bryce is apparently smart enough to fucking figure out, like, hey, I can communicate Davey on this walkie-talkie.
Well,
they set up a fucking meet.
Hand it to Kim and Kim's mom. The only reason this happens to Kim is she has the walkie-talkie and goes next door. She just goes over to play with Davey, and those bad guys are still there. That's later said, like. She's like, I went over to see what you were doing, and they were like, nope. But she still had the walkie-talkie. They waited for him to call, and then they're like, yes. And then they set up exchange. They're like, do you know the Japanese sunken gardens?
The sunken gardens.
And he's like, yes. They're like, meet there. You bring the tape for Mike's birthday, and we'll trade you for Kim. And he's like, all right. And then he goes there. And then he sees Rice.
Well, he steals a duplicate tape from Morris.
Yeah, as he's
who
walking,
won't care at this point.
As he's walking out of Morris's computer shop, Dabney Coleman pops up as Jack Flack. He's like, you got to get a decoy, kid. And he's like, I can't steal a video game. He's like, dude, this is wartime. We've done this before. And although Davey doesn't like it, he does steal it. Mike makes the observant note that while at the Sunken Gardens, he then opens the game, discards the outer packaging, and plain broad daylight.
right in front of everybody. Get rid of
and then
the
switches the
box.
games.
Yeah.
So
He should have taken that fucking sticker off the back, too.
So then he meets Rice, and Rice is one of the three baddies. I would say that Rice is like the baddie in charge of the other two.
Yeah.
Like he might have a little more
Yeah,
leadership.
he's the goon manager.
He's the one barking the order. Goon manager.
The goon wrangler.
Get you a shirt that says that.
Just on the back, I just wanted to say get.
Go on. And on the back, get.
So Davey goes down to a lower level, and there's an upper level. There's a lower level, and he meets Rice, and basically he's like, I want Kim. They show him Kim. Haverman is dangling her over some kind
Yeah,
of
like
cliffside.
doing the Michael Jackson on the
First thought I had. First thought I had, Jeremy.
Like, that's ignorant.
And then he's like, no, I want her to come down. And you can tell Rice is like, yeah, kid, whatever. He's like, whatever you want, kid. So they signal Haverman and Alvarez, let Kim go. She comes downstairs. As she's coming downstairs, he's like, we let her go. They're still up there. She's walking down. She's 10 feet away. Give me the game. So he puts down the tape. And it's a Cloak and Dagger tape, the one, the fake one, the real game, not the one with the spy codes and stuff like this. And Rice is like, good, yeah, awesome. And he bends down to pick it up, and simultaneously he goes to get his gun, and Davey pulls out his gun. Freeze, turkey! You never saw it coming.
Davey was quick on
and
the draw
squirts
there.
him with the fake blood and right in the fucking eyes.
Right. And so honestly, kind of an interesting move. Yeah, another 1 in a billion chance, but Rice reacts the way I think anyone would.
Like, what the fuck?
First of all, he thinks for a second he's shot in the face. So psychologically, you're like, what just happened? And then he's like, what is this red goo all over my face?
Goo.
And Davey's like, gotcha, bitch.
I was thinking that the whole time. That's exactly what happened.
and runs far away. He escapes. Kim runs off. So they kind of split up a little bit. He's like, let's get out of here. So Kim runs off, and where do they go on the boats at this point? Or they get on the bus.
Yeah.
On the bus.
So they do not split up. So Kim and Davey get on the bus, and they're driving down, and very conveniently, the baddie's van is parked 10 feet behind the bus stop. Because Rice is like, come on, man, get in the car. And I was like, dude, like, are you like, if this is like the Denver Zoo, you would have to like go down like into like a basement.
This is like a
area.
5-minute walk to get back to this guy.
Right, you would have to then like go upstairs, let 17 cars out, eventually cross some streets. No, they're just like parked right by the bus, so they are immediately trailing the bus. But go ahead.
This was nonsense because the kids are running up to the bus. They jump in, and the two guys are right behind them. Mm-hmm. And that bus driver was like, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
But we later learn the Texas bus drivers are sticklers. Even when Davey's like, I have an emergency, guys like 75 cents or get the hell off my bus.
Something's going on with San Antonio's
He's
bus
gotta-
transit
he's
down
gotta
there.
keep on that schedule. They were too late, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I like this plan because it's executed well. I mean, you have to do these things, and Davey does it. So Davey goes, all right, they're trailing us. I'm going to get off in a couple stops, or like we'll do a diversion. Stay on the bus, but they really just want me. So he goes to the bus driver. He's like, could you stop here? He's like, dude, no, we don't just make stops. And he goes, we're getting off in 3 blocks. 3 blocks, and they're still driving as they're talking. I was like, I guess you could have just got off at 3 blocks. But Davey's like, I'm going to get sick. And the bus driver's like, what? And he immediately opens the door. And Davey, to give him credit, just books it. Like, that kid is not like casually running. That kid, I believe the actor is in reality running at the fullest speed that he can, because he is just going for it. And what's crazy is they stop the van, and Haverman is also running at him. Like, that guy gets out of the van at full speed. And then they get on some boats, some little canal boats.
I like the way
Yeah, it's
that
that Riverwalk in San Antonio.
Yeah.
I like that way the whole scene was shot when the bus stops and, like you said, he bolted out and the van cuts him off, and then it pans off and you can see like them just running toward the boat, and it's like top speed. I just like the way it was shot.
Yeah, it's a cool shot because the camera's still on the bus, so Kim's like, "Go, Davey," and you see it from the bus angle, and like from the side, Davey is like Usain
crazy.
Bolt, like,
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh shit!" Like he's alarmingly fast. It's like super bad, like fastest kid in the world. But Haverman is right after them, so Davey gets on these like motored gondola boats on the river tour of San Antonio. This scene is bananas. Going back, as I noted, like,
Yeah, it is.
because like there's some psychological components to me watching this film, and this is another notable scene for me. Like, the idea that these guys could just get on the boat and I told Mike, Lamar, and Collin as we're watching it together, I was like, these guys seem to be having enjoyment that they're gonna go kill a kid. Like there's like they seem like extra happy because they're like, I'm just gonna kill this kid. So they're like brandishing crazy knives. They get on the boats and they're moving around. And Davey eventually meets up with an elderly couple. They'll come into play in a little bit. But the elderly couple's like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, you won't believe me, but these guys trying to kill me. The older woman does find something suspicious. And she says what I thought. She's like, probably a bunch of perverts. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like who are these guys? They're clearly eye-effing Davey every which way. Like,
Well, yeah, because one of them is just smiling at him.
yeah, like it's creepy as hell. And like one guy's like constantly showing a knife. So the elderly couple is like, stay with us. We'll figure this out. Even the boat driver's like, can you please sit down? Like they're on these boats.
Yeah.
So eventually Haverman's like, fire! And as he yells it, there's a pandemonium, and he uses this as a diversion to stab Davey. So let me just make this clear. He yells fire, people go nuts, and he tries to stab a child to death on a boat.
And Davey is like fucking ninja quick,
Yeah.
man. He just dives out of the way and like escapes the boat. Boom,
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
As Collin noted, terrible spy, quick as hell though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
But also,
speed at 20.
these guys, after they yell fire and Davey escapes the boat, pandemonium kind of calms down. Nobody says anything to these two dudes.
No.
All right, not a thing. They're just like, guys, sit down.
One
Let's
guy
enjoy the rest
does
of the
yell.
boat."
He's like, "Can you just sit down so we can finish the tour?" And they do. And then I think it was Lamar who's like, "How long is the rest of this ride?" Like, no, it has to be
Yeah,
like on a
what
boat
are
for
they
20
really?
It has to be like a half an hour boat tour.
Yeah.
And they're
That
5
boat is
minutes
going
in.
3 miles an hour.
They foiled us, man.
Right.
We have to
And-
fucking remain on this boat.
And a couple people like fell into the river. It's like waist high. they could have
fall into the river.
Yeah, they could have waited out.
Yeah, that's gotta be super awkward now.
This boat tour would have been over. They would have been
Yeah.
like,
For the-
dude, you two.
Well,
are
the
going to
driver's probably
fucking
like, "We got to
jail."
go in a circle. The only way my boat's coming back is I've got to go this way." Now for the next 25 minutes, everyone's like, "Remember that guy with a knife shoved my husband in the water, yelled fire, and a kid ran away?" Yeah, that's a fun time.
It's normal stuff.
Oh well. Davey.
Well, they meet back at Morris's, and this is where we find out that Morris is most likely dead. There's a bullet hole in the screen.
That reminds me of something actually about what Mike said earlier about the sticker being on the back of the cartridge, which is how they were able to find where he was.
Yeah.
This is a brand new game. So it implied that he
He
opened
opened it up,
everything
yeah.
up, put stickers on all of his stuff, and then repackaged
yeah.
them. So you know what? He might kind of deserve it because he might be selling some shady products.
Maybe it's like a GameStop used section.
Yeah,
Sort of
I
thing.
think that was common practice kind of back in the day when the retailers like that go to Walden Software and they have like their little stickers on the inside of SimCity boxes. You're like, what? I thought
Keep people from stealing it to the metal detectors.
Maybe.
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 Davey.
Davey,
Maybe Davey.
Maybe Davey.
where's my tape, Davey?
They see the bullet hole in the they don't see Morris, but they see the bullet hole in the screen, so they think Kim thinks that he's dead, but Davey's like, nope.
Yeah, Kim basically goes home, right?
Yeah, she's like, I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, Davey's like, I'm going to figure this out, go home, we'll kind of reconvene, and she does go home. She goes home with a walkie-talkie. Yeah. let's just note that. I'm trying to build a little suspense in this. So she goes home with the walkie-talkie. She's like, radio me, etc. And he's like, okay. And then he goes downstairs to the parking lot. He's with Dabney Coleman's Jack Flack character. And he's like, let's figure out the car. And they're looking at it. This is the Textronics parking lot. And they find Morris's car, or they find where Morris would have parked, I guess. Why are they in the parking lot?
I don't know.
I never caught.
It's not clear.
Yeah.
Okay, I have that in my notes. I'm like, I don't know why they're down in this parking garage.
Because my first thought really quick, I was like, they're looking for Morris's car, but it's not Morris's car. It turns out to be Rice's car.
No, it's Rice's.
Yeah, so...
Because he gets real fucking upset later on.
Yeah, he
After
does.
The car's been totaled. He's like,
Hey,
don't shoot
Jeremy, he was paid in advance for these secret documents, and the first thing he did was buy a car.
Right.
And now they're already messing it up.
Brown Cadillacs don't grow on trees, guys.
Yeah.
That was a sweet ride.
No.
So,
Oh my God.
So they're able to kind of break into Rice's car, and in the trunk is Morris's dead body. And Jack Flack is like, oh my God, Rice is coming. Get
in the trunk.
Oh yeah, the bad guys are coming. Like, just get in. We're gonna find out what's going on. And the three baddies are kind of there. And this is where they go for like a little ride. They're at the Alamo, and Davey's able to get out.
This is Davey's. He takes a little turn here because he's freaking out now. I mean, he's ridden in the back.
Yeah, he's in the trunk with a dead body.
With dead body of his friend.
Right.
And his attitude's turning a little bit toward Jack. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about this.
But he also overhears the plan. They're gonna there's a drop off. There's a plane ticket to Mexico City. The buyer is missing a couple fingers.
Yeah,
that's
so
what he knows.
That's all we know. Like, we're gonna exchange these, plans, this tape, and we're gonna get some money, and everything's gonna be okay. And I don't know who these people are, but all we know is one of these guys has a couple missing fingers, as Mike noted. Totally. So Davey jumps out of the car and goes to the Alamo, where this is all supposed to happen. And he does see that Rice puts down the package. He does run into the elderly couple again. We learned that their names are Eunice and George. In real life, they are married. I have their real names here. We have Jeanette Nolan, who plays Eunice, and we have John McIntire, who plays George. They are the McCreadys. They were married, I believe, the trivia was for 49 years, up until I believe he passed away first. And I don't know their ages or when they passed away, but... that's cool. They play off well. This elderly couple is now a little integral to the story. They're like, oh, like, there's our friend again. And he's like, my name's Davey. This guy's after me. And she even says, like, now it's someone new. Like, kid, what's going on? There were two other guys. Now there's this guy. Like, what's going on? He's like, you're not going to believe me, but something's going on. So Rice leaves this case, which has the plans or the tape on it. And the Alamo's closing. They flick the lights, like everyone has to leave. Davey grabs the bag and bolts, and the security guard
Not
catches
fast enough
him.
this time.
Yeah,
Davey.
The security guard literally says, like, "You tried to steal? How dare you in the Alamo?" Like, that was supposed to be like the ultimate move, but he's like, "No, you don't understand." And George and Eunice say, "Oh no, like, he's with us. I told my grandson to get this package. There must be some kind of mistake." And Davey's...
They have a camera bag that's identical.
I do see other people with
Everyone
the same
has
camera
the
bag
same
at the
camera bag,
airport.
yeah,
So I was like,
yeah.
what? Is there like one camera bag in
That's
the 80s?
in San Antonio.
That was the only one you can buy in the 80s.
Yeah.
The San Antonian camera bag. I get it. I got it.
That's what it was called, the San Antonian.
San Antonio sound.
San Antonian.
I'm going to look
connection.
that up on Etsy. Yeah, so George is like, I'm going to go handle this. And Davey gets in the car. He's like, no, you don't understand. There's this tape. He's like, I'm going to handle this. And you see some kind of exchange. And Eunice is saying, listen, if George is doing this, he's doing this for a reason. Don't worry about it. So George gets in the car and he's like, okay, let's just get out of here. I'll drive you to wherever you want. He's like, it's, pointless. They got the package. And I love the interactions. He's like, come on, you think I'm some old dope? Like, I know what you wanted. I exchanged the package. We have the real one. Why don't you open it up? And the kid's like, or the kid Davey's like, oh my God. I love how this is played off. And again,
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Like, the vibe between Eunice and George really working well.
Yeah.
This is another note I have, like another crazy note. The idea that if I were 5 years old, in this, when this movie was made, that an elderly couple was trying to help me and that I would trust them, I would.
Yeah,
Like,
totally reasonable.
Like, so, like, what's happening here is kind of like mind blowing. And it's really Eunice. I didn't expect it from Eunice. I thought George would open up with it. And she's like, oh, honey, why don't you tell me about the tape and what's going on? And he says the whole story and they're spies and what's going on. And she goes, do you know who these people are? Do you know what they look like? Like the main people they were trying to deliver the package to. And he goes, all I know is on one hand, one of the guys has 2 fingers, and she pulls off her gloves that she's been wearing the whole time, and she only has 2 fingers. And she looks at him like, like the way she turns, like what a seasoned actor.
Yeah.
Like she has it, like she is selling this hardcore. Like, I'm a sweet grandma. I'm gonna murder you. Like, you're such an idiot. And she says, you're such a smart boy, like too smart. But you said too much, and then they chloroform the hell out of him, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect it. Like, I knew what was going to happen, but even looking back, I thought like George would have been the more brash one to be like, damn it, boy, you're such a moron. But like, she's like the kind of the more cruel one. Yeah, it really turns. And she basically highlights while he's passed out, we're going to deliver him back to those thugs. They're going to kill him. They're going to dispose of the body. Let's just be done with this. We're flying to Mexico City and we're going to live a new life. Mike was recently in Mexico City.
I was.
Did you meet George and Eunice?
Yeah, they were there.
Did you smuggle any
Did they
tapes?
chloroform you, Mike?
They were living their best life there.
You could probably pretty easily smuggle tapes nowadays. TSA would be like, I don't know.
I don't think you have to
this is.
smuggle them. You can just be like, I'm going to bring this. They'd be like, I don't give a fuck what you bring. Is it drugs? Okay, good. Then leave.
What was one of your favorite parts of Mexico City?
I mean, there was lots of old Aztec shit, which was fun. But the food is so good.
Very nice.
Do you think George and Eunice would have felt the same way?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's why they're moving there.
Yeah.
Well,
For the food and the Aztec shit.
Yeah.
you eat enough food in Mexico City, you know what? You wake up in a trunk again, like Davey.
yeah.
Bam.
You could wake up in a trunk in Mexico City.
Back in Rice's
Depends on what
trunk
part you
with
go to.
Morris.
That's how you get there.
So Dabney Coleman wakes up Davey. He's in the back of the trunk again with Morris in Rice's car.
Can't get out of this fucking
And-
trunk.
Can't stop.
But he
letting
overhears a
explosives.
huge piece that I was alluding to before. There's a bomb in Kim's walkie-talkie. So they highlighted like, oh, we won't hurt you, etc. But clearly she's a loose thread in all of this. They don't want this girl to talk. So they put a bomb in her walkie-talkie, and at midnight, Rice is going to explode it. And he's like, yeah, it's basically
Stroke
gonna,
of midnight.
yeah, he's like, it's gonna basically explode like half the condominium. Like there's gonna be so many people that die in this, and clearly they're targeting her. Davey hears this. They go off. He pretends that he's still chloroformed and asleep. He's able to go through the back of the trunk into the back seat, into the front seat. Dabney Coleman's like, we got to get out of here. But he's like, no, we've got to warn Kim. He does warn Kim to go to the airport. Wait, do they hear? No, did I already blow it? He doesn't know about the walkie-talkie now? When does he find out about the
I think he
walkie-talkie?
finds out about the walkie-talkie.
Yeah, he finds out here.
Yeah.
He knows
No.
that
I-
her walkie-talkie
I-
has plastic explosives.
I got it. So there's 2 conversations. Sorry, my notes kind of skipped. So he wakes up this time. He doesn't hear about the walkie-talkie, but he calls Kim and is like, go to the airport. They're escaping. This is where I'm going, etc. Meet me here. We've got to do this. The bad guys come back, and then he hears about the walkie-talkie. But then the bad guys see him, and he gets in the car and starts driving off. He's in reverse.
Do you think he wants Kim to go to the airport because she's probably more equipped to deal with this situation than like local authorities?
Yes.
Yeah,
Have you
maybe.
met Kim?
Okay.
Yeah.
Davey.
Yeah.
Davey.
No, you're right.
I mean, she's
How do
gonna
I
shut-
get to the airport?
She's gonna shut him down with her shrill voice, like "Get away from Davey." So then after a series of events of crashing the car, reversing the car, etc., he tries to call Kim again. Sorry, it's all like happening really fast, but he cannot get a proper connection to Kim. He's like, Kim. He's like, oh my God, she's already going to the airport. But he now knows that there is a bomb in her walkie-talkie. Sorry, I kind of got a little ahead of myself. But then he just bolts. He drives the car into a construction area. A bunch of bricks fall in the car, and then as Jeremy noted, Rice is super pissed that the car is banged up. Now the car is just totaled. Like,
Yeah,
like, there goes the money.
It's not going anywhere.
So Davey runs. He's got to go to the airport. He's begging cabbies, take me to the airport. I'll pay you when I get there. Louis Anderson pops up in a nice cameo. He's like, $10 ahead of time, kid. He's like, I'll pay you when I get there. He's like, nope.
How much money do you have? A lot. $10? I don't have that.
So Davey asked another cab driver, and the guy, this is the side note Colin and I had of just being nice in the 80s. Some like younger kind of cab driver. I would say that this dude is in his probably younger 20s. And this is sad because I was like, this would be me. Like if I were in this situation, if you saw a kid in need, the guy's like, it's life and death. Like whatever. The guy's like, it's on my way home. I'll just drive you to the airport. And does. Like there's no like strings attached. He drives in the airport. He's like, Davey, even on the way over, he's like, can you drive faster? He's like, no problem. Dude.
You got it, boss.
Yeah. Drives him faster. When they get to the airport, Davey says, like, I don't really have money. I could get it. And the cab driver kind of throws his hands at him and kind of gives him the thumbs up. Like, you could tell the look is, I never expected you to pay me. Hopefully this helps. Awesome. So, yeah.
You're going through some shit, kid.
Yeah. I mean, so again, the condemnation of this seemed like the
You've been
right
talking
thing.
to an invisible man this whole ride, so I'm going to let you out of here.
Well, the combination is like, it seems like the right thing to do. There's a child in need. You just do that. But then on our 40-year later perspective, you're like, oh my God, only things could go wrong. But
Yeah.
looking earlier, I'm like, oh man, like so many people are just like, a child needs help. Like you help that child. Like what the hell? And now we're like, oh my God, everyone's a suspect.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
helping a child is like, you know, calling their parent and keeping an eye on them for a little bit, not
Right.
driving them for miles to an
But
airport.
I sort of agree. I mean, in the 80s, there's no cell phone. There's no other.
Sure.
So, like, again, so there's also like technological things like we need to associate and consider. But like, if that was an emergency and no one has like a portable phone in the 80s and someone's like, it's life or death, and someone's like, I'll take you, I'm like, seems like the right thing to do. But now, you know, I've seen too much Law and Order. I'm 30 years deep into Law and Order. Like, yeah, I know it could happen.
So if we're already at the airport, I think we've skipped over quite a bit of real estate here.
I don't think so.
we're on the.
Before we get to the airport is
Oh, yeah, Davey's killed some people.
Davey kills like 3 people.
Oh, yeah. The kills.
The
Yeah, I forgot
Crossfire
about that,
Gambit.
Mike. Thank you.
Oh yeah, Crossfire Gambit.
Yeah, Davey has to do some murdering.
Those
Yeah.
guys weren't that important anyway.
Sorry,
No.
one step before we get to the airport, there is a Davey going to the park where he meets up with Rice and Haverman and Alvarez.
Yeah.
They're all there. All 3 baddies are there.
Well, no, Haverman dies in the van crash.
That's right.
When he drives through the phone booth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're down to Alvarez and Rice. And they pull out some Uzis and start going through the park looking for him. Dabney Coleman is highlighting, let's do the Crossfire Gambit. And this is a weird move. So Davey hides in the shadows, waits for Alvarez to come out. He runs past him. Once Rice is behind him, he's like, ah! And then Rice turns around and shoots Alvarez.
Yeah.
So there's like a really weird shift in the Jack Flack character post car, where he insists on standing your ground. It's like standing ground and,
Yeah.
and murdering these 3 guys.
He's like, pick up the guns, shoot people.
Really aggressive.
Did we mention that he called his father?
The father.
The father.
Well, Dabney Coleman's on the way there.
Yeah, Dabney goes on the way to the airport. That's what he was doing in the phone booth that Haverman crashed through.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jack Flack is like, take his gun. Just take his fucking gun, bro. He's like, I don't.
No.
I have a gun with paint in it.
But when Alvarez dies,
No, it's fake blood.
as
Yeah.
Colin noted,
He does
Jack
take that
Flack
one.
is more aggressive
Yeah.
and does convince Davey to pick up Alvarez's gun. So Rice now is the only baddie left of the 3 and corners Davey and is like, this is an insane scene. He's
Yeah.
he's narrating all the things that he's going to take pleasure from. He's like, I'm not going to kill you immediately. I'm going to shoot you in your kneecaps. It's going to be the worst pain you ever feel until I shoot you in the stomach. But that's not going to instantaneously kill you either. You're going to beg for me to kill you, and I'm just going to watch you.
it and smoke cigarettes.
The whole time, Davey's pointing a handgun at him, and he's like, I've seen the gun before. I don't need more red ink. He's like, it's a real gun. It's a real gun. It's a real gun. And Dabney Coleman's character of Jack Flack is talking to Davey. He's like, dude, shoot the gun, shoot the gun, shoot the gun, shoot the gun. And this is another insane scene. And this is one that
Yeah.
I feel now 40 years later, I don't have a comparable movie for, Cloak and Dagger because of what happens.
Yeah, this is bananas.
Dabney Coleman manifests in reality and throws off Rice. Rice actually sees Jack Flack like what he assumes flesh and blood. He's like, who's this guy? and immediately starts gunning him down. But Dabney Coleman is only kind of there.
He tries to block it with his beret again.
Right. And yeah, he pulls off his beret. I could, deflect bullets. And he convinces Davey, shoot him, which is the right thing to do. I mean, this guy is going to kill you. And Davey, who's 10 to 12 years old, shoots Rice, and he is dead. And Dabney Coleman is like, there you go, you did the right thing. Davey is kind of freaking out at this point in time. Like, I've killed a man. You could even, Collin, you're totally right. There's like this huge shift because Dabney Coleman now is like, see, you did it. You won. Like, you got what you wanted. You were good enough. You proved yourself. He's like, I just killed a guy. He's like, hey, it's a game of spies. Like, as long as you're good enough and you're on the case, you could do it. And like, it's crazy talk. Like, this kid killed a dude. And he's like, I'm done with you. This scene, I don't know, guys. Like, this scene actually just... I have a side note on my notes. I don't need to open it. And I think this scene is the first time as a child I actually knew what depression was. and it's I don't even know what to say. It's Davey immediately is like, I'm sick of this. You're giving me bad advice. Like, I just killed a guy. Like, this is insane. And Dabney Coleman...
I don't think he was giving him bad advice, though. I mean, that's the only thing he had to do.
Yeah.
I agree. But, like, psychologically, the impact that this has on Davey is, like, nuts. And Dabney Coleman, Jack Flack's character, or the character of Jack Flack, he's like, come on, man. Like, that was the right thing to do. I totally agree with Jeremy. And Davey takes out his pewter statue and breaks it, like, steps on it. And immediately you see all the bullet holes, like in Jack. Like, the fiction is now, like, unraveling, and his imagination is like caught up with him, and he's like, oh my God, you're bleeding everywhere. And he's like oozing just blood. It's like cartoons, like just like 10 holes in his chest. And I don't know, I think the depression was, even as a kid, I understood, because he goes, your father was the same way. Like, there's so much backstory that's said right here. He's like, your father was the exact same way. All kids are the same way. When they give up, when they have no more imagination, when they don't want to play with their friends, they break their toys. Your dad was the same. He did it with cowboys and Indians. And then you're led to believe Jack Flack is the imagination of his father as well. This is literally Drop Dead Fred. This is Moon Boy. We've seen this. Imaginary characters. I love Moon Boy. Imagine Chris O'Dowd, I love you. Imaginary characters that like have a consciousness. And I don't know, it's just so sad. And he disappears, and Davey's like, oh my God, I have to go to the airport on my own. And like, Obi-Wan Kenobi, just using a voice, he's like, you've always been alone. You could do this, and you never see Jack Flack again, which is insane.
No,
like,
that's it.
Like, and I knew it. I knew it as a kid. I was like, oh my God. Like, and I knew it wasn't just like a character died. I was like, part of your imagination's gone. I knew this as a 5-year-old. How depressing. Like, boom.
Yeah.
But then, yes, Davey's at the airport. We did this a little backwards. Davey's at the airport. He's running through metal detectors. No one cares. It's 1980s at the
No one
airport.
gives a fuck.
Fuck it, dude.
Willy-nilly. You got a bomb. You don't have a bomb. Whatever.
Right. So who has the girl?
No one. She goes to the airport.
She's just
She's talking to the security guards.
That's right.
She's like, my friend Davey.
Davey's in here. I'll find Davey.
So did she get to the airport by her mom, I'm assuming?
No, she took the
no,
bus.
How did she get to the airport?
She took the bus.
Yeah.
God damn.
Dabney Coleman drove mom.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Because
Fair enough.
they're a couple minutes behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kim is telling the security officers that there's this game and it's Cloak and Dagger, but there's these spies. And like one guy's like kind of like, I think I should write this down. Probably. But then Davey gets there and is paging her over the intercom. She's like, I think that's my name. They're like, we'll get there. Don't worry about it.
Just got to write some more stuff down.
Also, it is like midnight, right?
Yeah.
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 Close to it.
So Davey's
this is
at the
nuts to me, man.
So this girl got on a bus at like 10 or 11 at night.
Davey is at the metal detectors and runs through, and they shut that down quickly. They're like, whoa, where are you going? Like, you can't do this. And he's like, those are my parents. Because
they're trying to leave me.
Yeah, he sees Eunice and George, and they see that him and try to scamper
my
off.
elderly parents.
So they call him back. They're like, this kid, he's like, calling out for you. And Eunice and George are like, I don't know what you're talking about. It says your parents. And they're like much older. He's like, do you think we're, young enough to be parents? Like, we've never seen this kid. He's like, I could prove it. My video game is in their camera bag, and open it up. And the security officer is kind of all business. He's like, I want to see what's in that camera bag right now. And they open it up, or they're about to open it up, and boom, Kim pops out of a side door and is like, there's Davey. And Eunice and George are like, whoa, what? And George just grabs the security officer's gun and is like, I'm getting on this plane. I'm taking this kid.
Dick.
Yeah. A guy comes out and is like, where are you going? And it does look like he gets shot in the genitals. We rewound it. He's shot in the knee, but grabs his groin and it goes to the floor.
You know, when you have a small part in a movie, you only have that might be your only opportunity to grab your junk.
There are no
the
small
ground.
parts.
Not anymore.
Well, it's smaller now.
So now they have a hostage and they go on the plane. Dabney Coleman and Kip's mom appear. And they immediately are told, first of all, Dabney Coleman's brought aside. I was going to say he's immediately told what has happened. No, they immediately tell him that they assume his son is dead and divers are in the river looking for him. They're like, we got a diving crew, but we just haven't found anything. But we found this pewter statue. And he looks at the pewter toy. He's like, oh my God. But then he goes a little further and they're like, oh no, your son's totally a hostage on this plane. And he's like, listen, I've taxied planes. I'm a staff sergeant. I'm going on there, and I'm going to just pretend to be the pilot, and I'm going to negotiate our way. And they're like, you're not doing any of this. And then the guy's like,
he's like, I'm taking this man's hat. I'm doing this.
Well, a guy runs in and is like, we've only got 3 minutes. Yeah. And he's like, now I'm taking this guy's hat. And we're doing it.
Totally my hat.
Well, like 2 guys run in. Like one guy's like, we got 5 minutes. And then another guy runs in, we've got 3 minutes. The guy
with like the light stick. The guy, seriously.
We have less minutes now.
How did that guy know?
Dude, they've got great communication on there.
He just wanted to be involved.
Yeah. So Hal Osborne, Dabney Coleman, does go onto the plane. Davey is sitting in the back, so he does not know his father is on yet. He tells George and Eunice, I'm your pilot. I'm going to fly you out of here. Let me do this. They're not really trusting him, but he seems legit, like he is moving the plane. He's hitting the right dials. He's calling the radio tower. He's saying what's what. He's like, I do want the boy in the back to like be secure. And he's throwing out like code words. He's like, this is Captain Jack Flack. You need to buckle your seatbelts. Davey's not fully getting this.
Because he's a fucking moron.
Well, Davey, I mean, to admit...
he is trying to defuse a bomb.
Davey does crack open the back of the walkie-talkie that he did get from Kim and brought it onto the airplane and does see he has less than 3 minutes before the timer goes down. I probably would be paying attention to that too. Yeah. Eventually what happens...
And the things that happen in the next 3 minutes, there's no fucking way that they could physically take place.
No. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So basically what happens is it's ticking down. Eunice does go to check in on him. Like, you need to sit down. He's like, there's a bomb about to go off. And she's not listening to anything he's saying. No one is. But eventually he's able to just shove it in her face. And they've got like a minute and a half at this point in time. And she's like, oh my God. She freaks out. George, get over here. George runs through, and they use this as a diversion. Davey runs to the cockpit. They shut the door, and Davey basically goes out a cockpit window. This is such like a sad, awful scene because, I mean, can you even imagine one like your
So this plane is moving, by the way.
Yeah,
and
right.
This kid is falling out of a cockpit window, probably underneath some tires, maybe getting
That's
sucked
a
up
count
into the fucking turbines.
Yeah, because I like that Dabney Coleman is like, as soon as I drop you, run far from the plane. And I took it as not even just a bomb's about to go off, like you're about to get run over by tires.
That's what I took it as too.
So, yeah, the plane is hauling down the runway.
He could have stopped the plane, right?
Probably, yeah. I would have.
Well, so he kind of jerked it to get Davey free, and then is using it to like jerk the people in the back. So this is just terrifying because he tells Davey like, you've got to go. Davey clearly knows there's like 60 seconds or less left on this bomb. He's like, you can't fit out this window, and you clearly think this dad's gonna die. Davey is tossed kind of out the window, does get up and runs from the plane and runs far from it. The plane goes and just massively explodes. It's huge. It knocks Davey back. Like this is a massive
like a fucking ball of fire, like a plane exploding.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then out of the shadows and the fire, you see, the outline. It goes back and forth. You see Dabney Coleman's silhouette. I thought this was done well. You see, partially it could be a beret, partially it's that military jacket he's wearing, and it all comes down to like a crossfade where it's Dabney Coleman and it's really just his father. It's Hal. And, he runs to his dad. He's like wiping tears out. Again, this is another traumatizing scene for me, Jeremy, because even as a 5-year-old, I knew there was no way in hell his dad had enough time to get out of there.
Yeah.
So like as a kid,
Nobody did.
I'm like, my mom's dead. My dad just exploded in front of me. Like, this is like a weird traumatic film. But his dad comes out and he's like, Jack Flack could never die. Like highlighting like, I'm your hero. Like I used a move from one of your like favorite people that you invented. And he's like, I don't need him anymore. Like I have my dad, which is Happy Father's Day, everyone. As you hear the sirens in the background, they're coming to get you. But yeah.
and that is it.
That's it. Freeze frame. Like dad's alive. They embrace, they hug. Like I was like, wow, this is like the end of a Japanese animated film. Like when things are resolved, credits roll. There's no like, and then a year later. No. I miss you, Dabney Coleman. I thought you did a good job. So I'll note that. But before we get to our final views on this, as always, reach out to us at rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com. If there are any movies or any fatherly movies that you'd like us to get invested or review, or you just know something or want to say, hey, let us know. rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com, or go to our webpage, rabbittroopsucks.com. We have pictures, we have links, we have merchandise, we have all things there. We are streaming everywhere you could even consider being podcasts. We're on YouTube, we're on Amazon, we're on the iTunes app, we're everywhere you could think. And then we're also on Instagram and Facebook. So thanks for reaching out to us if you have. Thanks for listening. What does everyone think about Cloak and Dagger for this Father's Day special?
I'll go first. I loved it. I thought it was super fun. I really liked Kim. If you've seen like Jumpin' Jack Flash or Last Starfighter or any of those things like that, you'll absolutely love this too. I mean, it has a lot of this kind of similar issues where it's like, does it make sense? No, but you have a kid who's like fighting spies, who probably aren't even really spies, but it's a fun romp. There's a ton of adventure, and it's like the pacing is really good. The music is a little goofy. Yeah. Like during the river walk, there's a song in the background that is a little distracting. But I had a ton of fun, and I would totally watch this again.
What are you thinking, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this movie. Like, there's so many things that are just ridiculous that happen, but it is a 1984 film, so...
You made us watch the stuff.
Oh, yeah, the stuff. It's a beautiful piece of art, Collin. All right? No, I it was entertaining. It's not my favorite movie. If I watch it again, it might be in a context where like I'm doing it with some other people, but I doubt that I would go and just pursue this movie again by myself. This was the first time that I've seen it. Yeah, I mean, like there's no like terrible acting performances other than maybe the two goons that were in this movie, but so many ridiculous things happen that are just like completely bewildering to me. It was just tough for me to get invested in it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, if I were giving a score out of 10, I would say this is a 5.
Wow. Mm-hmm. What are you thinking? What are you thinking, Lamar?
Love this movie. More than a 5. Come on, let's get it up to a 7. I like the dynamic of the father in this movie. Basically, it's two sides of his father. The one that is allowing him to live out his imagination and have fun. There's a scene earlier in the movie where the kid's talking to Hal, and it's when he first gets the game. He plugs it in, and he's like, "Hey, play the game with me, Dad." Dad's like, "Nah." He's like, "Just go to bed." And I feel like that's the side that the kid wanted Hal to have fun, and I'm thinking that he's making up Jack in his head just to live out that, but he realizes later on that, you know what, I kind of need some guidance and structure in my life, and it's nice to have Hal around. And I think throughout the whole movie, there's the kid, he's trying to get the combination of both, and Jack is too much, and Hal is just not enough, and in the end, it comes together as one, but also in the end, it leaves open a lot of interpretation, like, is he really dead? Did he really get his dream, or what's going on with the last scene? And the movie raises a lot of questions, which I kind of like. There's not really a lot resolved. It's open to what you want to think about it. But as a movie, it's fun. Just sit down and watch it, and it's just a kid living out his imagination. That's
really what it is. But it's like
it's like a game.
It's like James Bond movies, like spy movies, don't take themselves too seriously. Like you're just there for like the action. This had some deep rooted emotional things going on, but then the situations they get themselves in were so ridiculous.
They are, and I like that just because I feel like it could be a kids movie too. If you're into a kids spy movie where a kid's just having fun, but it's also serious. I mean, there's aspects where there's danger in it. If you're into that, you can have a lot of enjoyable moments with this movie. It's passable for me.
What'd you think, Mike?
Yeah, I like this movie. You mentioned like spy kids having fun. I think what I like about this movie the most is that no one in this movie is enjoying themselves, with the exception of the hitmen that are trying to murder a child. Like usually when you see a movie with like kids doing adventure spy shit, they're like, I got this, or like, I know what to do.
Yeah.
This kid is like, oh fuck, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like the whole movie is just like, this is terrible. Like I'm in a trunk with my friend's dead body. Like no one is enjoying themselves. And I think that's kind of why I like this movie. Because it is a fun romp, but it's not.
It's not that kind of fun.
Yeah,
romp,
like it's kind of thematically very serious. The part where Jack Flack like manifests himself, that was a little over the top for me, but like it needed to happen for him to die.
I think about that, like this is like a big thing for me in this film. Like I understand why that could even be polarizing. Like now a magical thing just happened, and it was like, for me, I really appreciate it that it was just for like 5 seconds. And like it never happened again.
There's build up to it.
Yeah.
So like he's so near the end, actually at the beginning, he's basically just talking to him in a corner.
Right.
But when they're getting chased, he pulled him out of the phone booth. He pulled him out of the car. So he is like pulling him.
He's part of the process. Yeah. I mean, I think maybe with a little bit more clever writing, they could have written that character getting killed without him coming to life. But I honestly, I don't have a problem with the way it went down. I like this movie. It was the kind of movie that I really liked as a kid, because I was a weird kid, I guess. And I think it holds up. I think it's still pretty fun.
Yeah, I just don't think this movie could be made today in the same way. I totally agree with Mike. It holds up. We talked about like these are films that we would watch as kids. Yeah, I mean, I feel a more modern version you'd see in the 90s with this kind of thematic thread would be Jumanji does the same thing, that his father is his father, Robin Williams. He's also the hunter that's after him. So that actor plays two roles, and it's supposed to be that psychological thread that, he sees his father in the hunter that's trying to end his life, but he didn't really understand. I totally agree with Lamar that Dabney Coleman's character is split where the father's not enough, but also Jack Flack is a little too much, but by the end, it all comes together as one. But yeah, as I said, some of the scenes, like as a kid, even were depressing for me. Like when Jack Flack dies and you just know since I saw the movie enough times, I'm like, I know when he's gone, he is totally gone. And that's crazy in my mind. More crazy than the kid just shot another person to save his life. It's just like your imaginary character came to life. Oh my God. And now he's dead. And now he's gone. But it's really the speech he gives. Like, your father was the same. I was like, ugh. Like, oh my God, there's just so much said in that one line. Like, holy shit, what? Like, I have so many questions, but now you're gone. But yeah, I love this movie. I think it totally holds up. It's clearly not going to be for everyone. It's definitely going to be on the more violent end. I definitely highlight that PG-13-ness, definitely for today's generation. But hey, next week, we're going to continue a little trend, a trend that we talked about off air, and we're going to bring back. So it's going to be officially summer. So next episode, happy summer, everyone. And so every change of the season, we started this last time, we're going to give you a Joe Dante film. Last time we gave you Small Soldiers. Next week, we're going to be looking at...
The Burbs.
Oh, yeah. We're looking at The Burbs. Tom Hanks, Carrie Fisher, Bruce Dern. Totally awesome film. Rami, should you watch it with friends? Yes. Should you watch it alone? Yes. Should you watch this movie? Yes. I love The Burbs. Joe Dante installment 2. So heads up, we're going to have one for fall and we're going to have one for winter. 2024, the year of Joe Dante. So Small Soldiers, again, is how we kicked off spring. And then we're going to kick off summer with The Burbs. So get your vacations ready.
Nice.
Remember who your pal is. And... they're going to kill everyone. So before we end, any final words on Cloak and Dagger?
No.
No,
Awesome.
it's a Father's Day movie, so happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Happy fathers to all the cool fathers out there. If you're a good father, then you deserve to hear this, and if you're not, then this isn't for you. So happy Father's Day. I hope everyone's having fun. As always, a rabbit troop sucks.
Rabbit Troop.
Davey!
This is what I mean by embarrassing.